Ladies and gentlemen, we are just 1 minute after 1 o'clock. I see people are still joining, but nevertheless, I would like to kick off this webinar. This webinar organized in the framework of an Interreg Northwest Europe project, Solarize, a webinar on the solar energy for collective social housing. And on behalf of the whole consortium and Brighton Hove and Flux 50 in particular, I would like to welcome you all in this virtual scene yet. We would like to go into a live modus as soon as possible, but given the circumstances, I think or we as a consortium still think it's best to organize this still in a virtual way. I do think it's a very interesting and, let's say, very necessary topic. As we all know, PV is a very distributed way of renewable energy, and we certainly should be able to work on PV, on solar energy in a collective way. When I talk with other people on collective mechanisms, being a sharing of energy communities or whatsoever, we all see a lot of opportunities, but we all see a lot of challenges. And I'm quite happy to see that we were able to to convince quite some interesting people that have already some experience in how to handle that collectivism, that challenge of collectivism connected to renewable energy and sharing of it. First, some basic guidelines, since we're still in a virtual room. Just to let you know that the webinar is being recorded. If you do not want to be recorded, I guess there is only one way, one solution: disconnect, but also for sake of redistribution of the seminar, we certainly need to record it. Due to the amount of people registered for this webinar, we decided to have no Q&A. In this sense that we will answer all your questions, of course. You can put them in the chat, and later on we will ensure that you will get an answer to all of those questions. And we would like, in order to keep everything a little bit organized, to have you muted your phone and turn off your camera during the entire procedure of the webinar. But let's take a direct dive in the program. As I said, we are quite happy to be able to present you with some real life cases and some experience from the floor. The first two speakers are actually, let's say, guest speakers from outside the consortium. The first one is Sam Verbelen. Sam is already working for a long time for the city of Antwerp. I think, if I'm not mistaken, started 2003. He's an engineer with an emphasis on energy efficiency and energy communities, energy sharing, and he will provide us some of the insights of a project that has been working in Flanders, Circular South. He will be able to give you some real life examples of what works and what doesn't work. And if I'm not mistaken, also at this moment, he's working for district heating projects in the city, while still advocating that energy community aspect. Next, we have Sanne de Wit, and I'm always impressed with her title. Her business title is actually Head of IDs. So while we still are focusing quite a lot on, let's say, the engineering aspects, we often tend to forget the psychology, the user awareness, and those kind of aspects which are at least as important as the technical ones. And that's especially what Sanne is looking at. How can we make things attractive? How can we handle the human component in the behavioral component in those kind of energy communities? I'm looking quite forward to get some inspiration there from one of the pioneers in that aspect. Later on, we have 3 Solarize partners who will give a presentation. First, but not least, is Kirsten Furt from the Brighton and Hove City Council, where she is leading the Greater Brighton Energy Plan, and where she is also providing advice on sustainable buildings, planning application, and those kind of things. And she will be able to give some insights on how you can engage people in let's say social needs. So not it's not only about the wealthy people, but here we are going to focus more on the social aspects of it as well. We also have we go from UK to France later on, where we have Arban Douta of the city of Fourmi, who will explain a little bit on how the system of collective self-consumption in France works. And he is looking into, let's call it the third industrial revolution theory, in order to get there the link to the specific sector of collective self-consumption. And then to end off, we have Maro Saridaki from Belgium, from CAMP-C, who will give some insights on interactive backcasting models. Also, Maro is an architectural specialist who is a project coordinator at CAMP-C, and who is also taking quite some responsibilities inside the Solarize project. And at the end, let's say within 1 hour and few minutes, you will have closing remarks by one of my colleagues and a representative of Flux 50 in the Solarize project, being Mark Vermeeren. So together with you, I'm quite interested to see what will be presented, and I wish you also from my side a very interesting webinar, and I hope to be able to meet you all soon later on during the project in a real life setting. Sam, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Frederick. My presentation will be coming up in a minute. There we go. So let me start with showing you the bit of the outline of my presentation for today. First, we'll set the scene, some things on the climate goals and actions within the city of Antwerp, and the focus we have on energy communities and energy renovation. Then specifically on the Circular South project, with a specific case which shows the lessons learned, and finally I will also zoom in on the next steps after Circular South and the possibilities for which exist today and hopefully tomorrow. So the City of Antwerp has a relatively new climate plan since December 2020. We are going for a carbon emission reduction of 50 to 55% by 2030, which is an ambitious but feasible goal. The climate plan has 10 themes, but more importantly, it has 37 actions. In the next slides, I will highlight some of the actions which are of concern for the presentation today. And since March of this year, we have a climate director, which is, I also added the Dutch term because we speak of the regisseur. I don't know if it translates very well to director, but she will be overseeing the execution of the plan and make sure that all the stakeholders are on the same board. So there are two types of actions within this climate plan I would like to focus on. One is on energy communities. So it shows you the buy-in the city of Antwerp has into facilitating the forming of these communities. And the next type of actions, which are actually 3 actions, are focused on energy renovations. But these go hand in hand with the support or the stimulating of local and renewable energy production. In fact, you could see it as the keystone in this project of energy renovation. On the left hand is the action on new solutions for renovation and sustainable energy production. 2 projects are mentioned there. It's the Be Real project and the AAA project, which is which are coaching projects for homeowners. There's also an advisory and coaching action carried out by the Eco House, and on the right hand there is one specifically targeted at co-owner associations in coaching them to have master planning for the sustainable renovation of the property. Okay, if we talk about solar energy on city rooftops, there are some indexes I would like to show you for the city of Antwerp. I think it can translate well to other cities in Belgium at least. But in 2008, only 1% of the potential for PV on homes is used. The same for the warehouses, also only 1%. So we have a target to raise this by 2030 to 5% for homes and 7% for warehouses. So this shows you that we have a very important task at hand, and this is what we want to do. This is just to illustrate 2 pictures. On the right hand, it's a residential area, and you can see, if you can follow my pointer, you can see some PV on a public building. There is PV on some single family houses, but all these apartment blocks in the lower part of the photo, the aerial photo, there is no PV whatsoever. On the left hand, there's a site with lots of warehouses. Only sporadically you can find PV, so a long way to go there. In tapping into this unused potential, there's also the goal, of course, to raise the ownership of this energy transition and to empower our citizens to create consumers who are aware of their consumption of renewable energy or the type of energy. And also creating a level playing field so that everyone has equal access to suitable rules and also has access to possible benefits of this transition. So this brings me to the Circular South project, where we try to do exactly this, empowering these citizens for a sustainable future. In the presentation, I also added the URL, so you can always, for further research, have a look there. The project is coming to an end by mid of this year. So we're in the phase of drafting the reports, and they will be available on this website. The project has 10 partners, among which there is an energy corporation, which played an important role in building this energy community. So we started in 2008. The concept was rather new then, and it has gained much traction the last during the time of the project. So two aspects. First, we wanted to create these shared energy systems in the project area, focused on solar, on roofs and facades, storage. All these assets were brought together in a cooperation or citizen energy community. Because of the regulatory environment, we couldn't actually make physical and financial sharing of the produced energy. So we used a virtualization setup through metering. And we didn't only meter the energy, but also water consumption, room temperature, production consumption. We did a lot of metering and we brought them together in one app. First lessons learned is during this project that the setup we had with gateways and boxes and separate meters is that it almost became obsolete because of the efforts the DSOs are doing now, rolling out this digital metering. They will provide these metering options to a much broader public, and we can have almost the same setup with these meters and bring them together in an app so people can see their consumption, production, maybe even storage, and we show them also their auto-consumption ratio and the self-consumption ratio to raise this awareness. The app had also a function bringing together the community, like in a WhatsApp group, in which they can receive messages. Was one direction actually. There was not through the app no interaction between the participants, but they got challenges, notifications, and tips from within the project consortium. They also had a wallet in which they could earn some credits, which we use the blockchain for. But all this together meant we were nudging them. We were creating a community. People actually were quite positive about this this approach, and the engagement was high enough to the satisfaction of the consortium. But you will read everything in reports. One main challenge we had to overcome, because we had substantial subsidies within the project to realize this shared energy system and these rooftop PV panels. But we noticed that there, even with this high subsidy, that the benefits we could offer to the owners were too low to be convincing. And I think this is also the main reason we saw in the first picture that there are almost no PV panels on residential buildings. So we had to come up with a solution, and that is to find rooftops in which we could on which we could realize these PV systems in the surroundings of the project area. The project area is around here, and we found some warehouses here and also an office complex within the project area. We also have a building integrated PV demonstrator within the area, and we found a retirement home. All these buildings gave us a much better business case with a higher auto consumption, so we could generate income for the energy community. The expectancy is that in the future we will be able to create more revenue for this type of communities. Focusing on the possibilities we have today for PV, newly built, there is not at this point not such a big problem, except for maybe concurrent claims on the rooftop, like roof gardens and so on. But the EPP calculation gives some benefits to, for example, the real estate developer. Microgrids, closed nets are prohibited today. Maybe a private net is also prohibited, except for certain cases like charging cars or student homes. So maybe there's some opportunity, and we also have the possibility of microinverters, but this is a technical solution. If we look at tomorrow, for Flanders at least, the conversion of the European directive is on its way. It will possibly create a legal base and not necessarily a better business case. The thing is, there are also other possibilities to generate profit for an energy community, like e-mobility. Also, the integration of heat and cold production solutions could provide profit generation, and flexibility services. So these three things could be the key for empowering these energy communities. I work for the local government, of course, and we are looking at our role as a facilitator, building these communities, because you need to bring people to the people together to direct their engagement into this area. Circular Start could be an example of how you can build a community. We have 80 participants in the New South energy community, and we will be continuing to work with them, to work with the assets they have at this point, to broaden their scope. Also important, we provided, and the actions in the climate plan I showed you earlier on, we are heavily supporting coaching and advising associations of co-owners. And in the past, it was mainly focused on renovating the building envelope. But at this point, we also are looking deeper into the renewable energy production and energy production as a whole. Public buildings are also an asset a city has or a local government has to use in this approach. And finally, we have also tools. We are developing tools to see how which concepts can help or can work for energy communities. This research was ordered last week, so we are looking forward to results and to some tools we can offer to the co-owner associations. As a final slide, I would like to point out this coaching on master planning we are offering from the city to these co-owner associations, and in which we will also try to work with them to build these citizen energy communities. If you're interested, you can always send a mail to ecohuis@antwerpen.be for if you are associated with a co-owner association within Antwerp, of course. So this brings me to the conclusion. I hope we will see this in the future much more, and even the facades are not very visible in here, but I would like to see even more PV on the facades as well. So this comes to the end of my presentation, and I think I have the honor to give the word to Sanne de Wit.
Okay, I guess that should work.
That's great, Sanne.
Yay! So I'm Sanne, and I work for the Energiesprong team. And one of the projects that we execute is the Must Be Zero project. It's also an Interact project. And Giesprong is a market development team, and we started off in the Netherlands, and we focus on retrofitting buildings to net zero energy levels. And under the Must Be Zero program, we mainly focus on multi-story buildings, like a little bit like the one you see in the background. And we started off in Holland, and we are now working in Germany and France and in the UK, in New York and in California. And I myself was there from the start in the Netherlands, and I moved to Berlin where I work now. And I also saw that somebody from Veloja was here from France, and they actually did the first project in France, so it's very nice. Although I've dealt a lot with tenants, like was mentioned in the introduction. I will just focus on presenting the approach today, and I will start with this picture. Well, this was a picture I made a while ago, and it was funny because I thought, okay, it's kind of interesting, because if you look at the right side, you see this car that we all think is a very modern car that suits this century. It has heating, cooling, you can watch TV, it is electrical window, well, it has seat heating, everything. And if you look at the car on the left side, it's a car that you would normally that you would not really buy anymore. Maybe unless you're a collector or something, but otherwise I don't think you would see this a lot. Well, if you look at the house that's behind it, you see there's a lot, at least in the Netherlands. This is a typical Dutch row house, I would say. But then if you look at the right side, you see a house that is brought, I think, into this century. It has undergone a complete makeover. So it got new external facades for insulation. It got a new roof with solar panels, and all new technical equipment that you can attach to the building from outside. I think in this example it's on the back, but I have some other examples that show you how it looks. But, well, not the most, but almost the most important thing, I think, is that this retrofit is being paid for by the money that you would normally spend on energy bills, combined with your maintenance and repairs budget of a housing organization. This is what we focus on mainly. And this building is net zero. I don't know if I told you what we mean by that, but it means that the energy that you generate is enough for your heating, household appliances, and hot water over a year. So you can imagine, in order to pay this from your maintenance, from your energy saving and your maintenance budget, the cost of these retrofits have to come down. So therefore, this is being done offsite mainly, and the processes are smarter. It's quicker to install because you install it in a week, and builders also give a warranty for 30 years on the performance of the building to secure that business case. And the most important thing, of course, is that it's attractive for people that live there. And the responses that we got so far are very positive. So people, for example, said it doesn't look like social housing anymore. It feels like I live in a new build house. Or some people even quit smoking, stopped smoking because the air quality was so nice. Well, all of these feedback we got, which is of course very nice. And I'll explain to you a little bit more about the business model. So this is what it looks like before the refurbishment. So you have a tenant who pays rent to a housing organization. Then they pay their energy bill to the gas or to the electricity company. And after the retrofit, the idea is that tenants still pay rent to the housing organization, but they also pay an energy plan, now also to the housing organization. So with that extra income stream, so combined with your maintenance and repairs budget, they can pay for the refurbishment. So yeah. that's the idea. This in the Netherlands that I will focus on a bit now for this. That meant that we needed a law change there, which happened. So that was cool. So now housing organizations are actually allowed to get that money, that extra energy plan from their tenants. So yeah, the Energiesprong or Must Be Zero focuses really on what people want in the end. So it has to have high quality, and we ensure that by that long-year warranty on the performance that has been given by the builder. It should be affordable for housing organizations. So that's how you sell the business model. For builders, so cost of the components have to come down a bit. We try to do that by organizing scale. And it needs to stay affordable for tenants, so they should have the same cost of living after the retrofit as they had before. It should be quick to install, less hassle, so this can be done in 1 week. Mostly it's a little bit longer, and it should be attractive. And that means it should look good, feel good, have some extra benefits. People often like the things that are not so technical, but the things that we tend to forget, like some extra green, or maybe have your garden done, or wallpaper, or whatever, these little things, important. And so in return for that energy plan, the tenants pay, they get like this. They get like 21 degrees all year round, 40 minutes of hot water, energy plug load for your household appliances, and it should feel good and sound good. And this is sort of a bundle like we used to have with the telephone bundles. I don't think we do that anymore either, but the idea is if you use a bit more, you pay a bit more. If you use a bit less, sometimes you get money back. Sometimes that goes to the housing organization. That depends on the housing organization actually. And the way tenants can, this is the layout of a monitoring system that you can hang, that hangs on the inside of the building. And this is like a smart heating, like a tablet that you can use just to put your heating up, ventilation on, stuff like this. But the other thing you can do is you can track your energy bundle or use per month in a way that's very user-friendly. It does not have to look like this. This is just an example of one of the companies. So you can see if you were still within that bundle or not. And it's actually funny because when we started this, we thought that people would start using more energy because it feels more like it's for free. But they actually started to use less. So we think it's because you're very aware all of a sudden of the house that you live in, like in another way. And because of this screen, you can actually see where you're saving money or energy or not. Well, the retrofit that you saw on that first picture, it is a total retrofit. And the idea is that you can buy these retrofits off the shelf and that they become cheaper and cheaper. And we are not there yet because these whole house makeovers have to be developed yet. We see a lot of companies that are starting to do that now, but we still need more. And for companies to really take that risk to step into that market, construction companies, and make the investment and develop that, you need skill or somehow a promise of skill. So that's why we as an Energiesprong team, we are not making these retrofits ourselves. We are just organizing housing organizations and construction companies so that with housing organizations, we aggregate demand to come to scale, and we are looking for construction companies or startups that say, okay, with this number, I'm comfortable stepping into that market. And like I said, that market means the market that needs to be developed, like integrated, industrialized, whole house home makeovers. And we're getting there because we have a lot of partners that are trying, and if you see where we come from, you see that there's already a lot of development. Because for the technical part, we started up like this. This is one of our first projects in the Netherlands. And yeah, this is not really pretty, but it worked. And it was like maybe 20,000 euros. And within 2 years, it became this. So that's already a big change. Everything that you saw there is now put into this box. Or even some had solutions that I put into the facade like this. So you see that there's a big difference already. And this is also already a lot cheaper, maybe like 13 to 15,000 euros. And this is then how it looks on a building. It's nice, it has the same finishing as the facade. And there's also options where they put it in the attic, so in the roof basically, so it looks like a little bit of a chimney there. So there you see a lot of development. We're not here yet because this is 500 euros and this has a lot more complicated technology in it, but I think we're on a good way there. Yeah, this is a facade, so also factories for facades are now being set up basically. Like this is a robot arm that put the stone strips on the facade, and this is another picture. Yeah, so the idea is that at one point these just roll out of the factory. And I'll show you a short video. I think it's a 1-minute video. I hope it goes well with the sound. I hope it's not too loud. Where you see how a retrofit was done in 1 day. There we go. Alright, so this is then what it looks like. And this is more like a multi-story building. This is, I mean, it's just to show you that it can have all certain, all different kind of shapes and colors. And this is one in the UK that we did. There was one private homeowner, as you can see. And this is just another example. It's a shame that I don't have the Velosia pictures in here. So I guess that was it for now. If you have any questions, also about maybe other, more about the business model or how it can work, or around the tenants or whatever, you can always email me. And then I'd like to thank you for now, and I will give the floor to Kirsten for.
Hello, hi everyone. I'm Kirsten Firth from Brighton and Hove City Council in the UK, and I'm here today to pick up on some of those interesting questions that have been posed by our previous speakers. And thank you, Sonna, that was really fascinating to hear about your work with Energy Sprong. So I'm going to talk about how we can help to engage local people, and particularly people on low incomes, with our efforts to spread solar energy. I'm going to share my screen. Here we go. So yeah, thinking about how we can make solar energy accessible to people who are on low incomes. So first I'm going to look at low cost electricity in social housing. And we are in Brighton and Hove, we are one of the partners of the Solarise project, and we've been developing these ideas together with the Solarise project. So we are looking at solar energy in council-owned housing, or what we call in the UK social housing. So this is housing which is owned by the local authority and is let to people who are on low incomes, often on benefits, so the rents are quite low. And what we wanted to do was to try to make sure that the benefits of the solar energy goes directly to residents. So we're looking at self-consumption on site as far as possible. And we're also looking to try to ensure that the residents have lower electricity bills. So I will talk, I'll go through some of our pilot sites, and I'll talk about how we selected the sites, how we designed the projects, and also about some of the regulation issues that we've come up against. So our first project has been at a place called Buckley Close. So this is 2 blocks of new build social housing. So 12 flats in all, 12 apartments. And the system is designed so that solar panels on the roof go into the landlord's meter supply and is then fed to individual flats. So what we would often see, if we didn't do that, what we would see is that the solar energy just goes to power communal lighting, perhaps entrance doors, but doesn't benefit the individual residents. So what we've had to do in order to make this happen is that the residents have to agree to buy their electricity direct from the council. And that means that they don't have a choice over who their electricity supplier is. However, once this is explained to tenants, we find that actually this is not a problem. That we are then setting a block, what we call a block tariff. So we still, despite the solar energy, we still have to buy some of the electricity from the national grid, which means that the electricity is not completely free, but the residents are definitely paying lower amount than they would do if they were buying from a commercial supplier. So this is our second example, a place called Oxford Street. And what we have here is an existing block of flats or block of apartments. And we are adding an extra floor, an extra story on the top. So that top row that you can see there. And for those top flats, we're adding solar panels on the roof. And those solar panels are fed directly to each individual flat. So the residents benefit directly from that. So I think this example hasn't been, is still being finalised, so we don't have residents in there yet. But again, they will benefit from the solar energy during the day. They will still have to buy some solar energy from the grid. So it doesn't mean free electricity, but it definitely means lower cost. And our third example is Elwyn Jones Court. So this is housing for senior citizens, and here the citizens rent an apartment, and with that they also pay a sum for their heating. And in this block of flats, the heating needed to be replaced anyway. And so what we've done is to put solar panels on the roof and to direct the electricity supply to the heating system. Now, we're hoping that we will be able to install a heat pump as well, and that will increase the savings further. That we haven't been able to do that yet, but that is on the cards, the next thing that we hope to do. So here we expect that a somewhat lower amount of savings for the residents, but again, it's proving very popular when when we explain to people what we're doing, and that this will help to cut not only their electricity bills but also their carbon footprint. And this is really popular across all age ranges. So in terms of monitoring this, the Buckley Close, the first example I showed you, has now been in operation for about 9 months. And so we will soon start to be able to see the monitoring for the first year, and also to get an idea of how much the actual savings are. And we do hope that, you know, we've also given the residents some tips about saving their energy using their appliances when during the daytime. So putting the washing machine on or doing the hoovering during the daytime when they can benefit from the solar electricity, and that will help to cut their bills even further. So all of these efforts are aimed at assisting people who are on low incomes. But we also have a scheme which is aimed at homeowners, and this is called Solar Together. So what this does is, again, it's about engaging and trying to empower individual homeowners to feel able to access renewable energy individually. And we're doing this through a group buying scheme called Solar Together, which is run by an agent called iChooser and is managed by one of our partner local authorities, West Sussex County Council. So what we've done is that there's actually 9 local authorities working together here, and each of those local authorities, the councils, municipalities, have written to homeowners and invited them to register on this scheme. And then based on the numbers of people who register, we've run an auction in autumn 2020, and installers will put forward prices based on the number of installations that they think are going to come through this scheme, and therefore we can get a cheaper price than they would give if they were pricing installations individually. So then the local authorities have run a marketing campaign and lots of customer information sessions, which have actually proved very popular towards the end of last year. And at every stage, people are given the opportunity to withdraw from the scheme, or indeed to register. New registrations can come in. So we're currently in the installation phase, and that is proving to be very successful. So here's some of the numbers associated with this scheme. The headlines: so 9 local authorities and municipalities have participated in the scheme. Over 100,000 households, homeowners in Sussex have been identified and targeted with direct mailing. And out of that 116,000, 6,000 households did the initial registration. And that's actually a very good registration rate against previous examples of this. So then you can see that the numbers start to go down, that some people do then withdraw after they've made the initial registration when they find out more about it. So we had 1,000, just over 1,000 offers accepted across all of the 11 council areas. But that's still a good result. And so far, 12% of those acceptances have led to installations within the last 3 months. So in Brighton and Hove, I think we have something like 100, just over 100 people have actually had installations, and we still have a couple more months to go with the installation period. So those numbers may not look very high, but it does mean that actually over 100 people in Brighton and Hove have now got solar panels when they wouldn't have previously. And so we've also, our partner councils have run some sessions to look at learning points to see what we can improve for next time. So part of this is internal. It's about, because there are 9 local authorities involved, that's actually proved to be quite challenging in terms of making sure that everybody is working together, that all of the legal teams in every council have the opportunity to look at the contracts and the procurement processes. That took a little longer than expected. In terms of data, we have purchased direct mail data from national companies, but then we have to do quality checks on that data to make sure that the properties are suitable, that they're in the right locations, and that they are actually homeowners. So that has required some analysis and quality checks. One thing that we want to improve for the future is to ensure that local solar energy installers have the opportunity to bid for the work. In the first round, it was mainly larger national installers who bid, but we very much want to ensure that there are opportunities for local companies to bid as well, and that's important. We see that as important in terms of our building up the number of green jobs in our local region. And finally, marketing. There's been a lot of sharing of materials and planning about how we market and how we develop information for people who are interested. And we've definitely seen that higher levels of marketing by the local authority leads to increased take-up in their region. So the Solars Together really has been very successful, and all of the local authorities are keen to take it forward to another round. So we're looking at another auction in the autumn of 2021, and we're looking at extending the Solar Together offer to include batteries linked to solar installation. So making that solar installation deliver more renewable energy to the homeowner. And just to finish up here with some quotations from some people who have received the service. Excellent service all round. And Julie from Worthing said, I feel the work and customer service from the company have been second to none. The fact that I bought them through the group buying gave me the comfort of security. And I think what this highlights is that one of the things is that actually some people have said that they would not follow up the offer because they could get the solar panels cheaper elsewhere. But in fact, for many people, the price is not the only consideration, and that actually the fact that they're buying this through a company which is backed by the local authority is important in terms of having a company that they can trust and a product that they can trust. So I think that's been very successful, and that's 2 ways then that we in Brighton and Hove are looking to extend the benefits of solar power to our local community. So I will now hand over to Arpan Dutta from the For Me City. And over to you, Arpan, and we'll take any questions through the chat. Thank you.
Hello, hello everyone. This is Arpan from the Will Do For Me, and I'm very much impressed by the presentation of Kirsten regarding the Solar Together project and everything which has already been done under the Solarize banner. So my presentation will concern mainly the collective self-consumption method and the users in collective housing and city neighborhood. So in today's presentation, I'll present you a little bit about Solarize and the Will Do For Me, what is actually collective self-consumption and what are the criteria in some of the countries in the EU and specifically in France, who I think it is for, and what has been our experience through the Solarize pilot project. So the Will Do For Me is working with Solarize for the acceleration and the solar uptake since 2018. So we have prepared the solar energy roadmap. We have established best practices for feasibility studies. We have constructed pilot demonstrations, and we are also working under various innovative methods to communicate to accelerate the uptake. So under the Solarize banner, the city has installed 3 pilot sites, 2 on scholarly grounds, that is one on school and one on an extension of the building, and 2 other ones on gymnastic or gymnasiums of the city. So, and also to know that we are not stopping at just installing these 3 pilot sites. We'll be installing much more with the other under other banners. So these are the 3 installations we have for the time being for the city for the Will Do For Me. Now we come on to what is collective self-consumption. So collective self-consumption is when we install a solar power plant on a specific building, and we can use the public energy distribution system or even a private energy distribution network to transfer the excess of the energy or the excess of the production, which can't be stored using a battery or something else, which is either wasted if the power plant is not properly designed. This can be injected into the private or public energy distribution network and be transmitted to other buildings. So we can see that the excess of the energy here with the flux is injected in the public or private distribution network. And we also know that the solar energy is mostly produced during the day. So during the night, we always need energy. So using a public distribution network and collective self-consumption method is quite pertinent in most of the cases. Now, collective self-consumption in Europe. So using the 2022 EU renewable energy targets, it obliges us to boost the uptake. So we have a 20 gigawatt hours per year to achieve as objective in whole of Europe, and the Europe has also a target of 200 gigawatt of installed capacity in 2023. There are 3 or 4 countries in Europe, in the Western Europe, which are mainly focusing on collective autoconsumption or collective self-consumption. The first one being Belgium. In the Wallonia region, we already have the rules being worked out since the May 2019, which were so the collective self-consumption were allowed using public distribution network. There are some modalities to be finalized. I'm not sure about the Flanders. And the next region is Germany. So there's Mieterstrom regulation in 2017, which enabled the collective self-consumption on apartment buildings. So there had already been 300 systems being installed in 2019. I think the pioneering country in this aspect was Switzerland, which enabled it in 2014. With innovative models which allowed the buildings to assume the retailer role and the fourth one being France. I'll explain it later. The other two countries which in the scope are the UK and the Netherlands, which have some regulations which permit the producers to share the energy or the produce using private networks, but not the public network. So this is something which has to be worked out in the due time. So now coming on to France. So what are the criteria for collective self-consumption in France? So the Code de l'Énergie, there are some articles which were fixed in 2019, which has actually permitted us to do this collective self-consumption under two different kind of projects. The first being a generic collective self-consumption project, which concerns one or more energy producers, one or more different consumers on a public network equipped with smart meters. So there are conditions that, yeah, you have to have a smart meter so that the public energy distributor is able to correctly monitor the energy flux, the production and the consumption flux, and also send the information to the normal energy providers so that they can include the data in their billing systems. The other thing is the presence of a personne morale organisatrice. This is something which you can say is a kind of a small enterprise. For example, a social housing owner, a social housing company may act as a PMO in a sense that they will be responsible for the transmission of data to the energy distributors, to the energy companies, and also to monitor these data and communicate with the inhabitants of a particular building. For the generic collective self-consumption process, the production and consumption points have to be in the same building or area. And the second type of project is that of a collective extended collective self-consumption project, which concerns number of buildings in a maximum of 2 kilometers of area. The total installed power shouldn't surpass 3 megawatt hours of installed capacity. Earlier, the consumption points had to be connected only to a low voltage network, but I think there is a modification in the rules which will come into effect on the 1st of July, which might permit us to connect to any kind of network. One thing has to be noted that the appropriation of the energy production and consumption curves, that is how we produce the electricity using the PV solar panels and how we consume it, is very important to correctly impose all the buildings in the perimeter of collective self-consumption. There is a specific rule for social housing saying that the social housing operators are obliged to inform the tenants about such kind of projects. The operator also has to leave a specific reasonable amount of time for the tenants to refuse the participation if they want. Otherwise, the tenant is considered automatically as a participant. But to not oblige them to be a part of this method, the tenants also have the right to interrupt their participation at any given point of time. So who is it useful for? It's useful for social housing, small urban or rural cities, even big metropoles who have a high density in a given area, some neighborhoods under construction, and also a renewable energy community. For the Ville de Fourmies, it was very interesting project, or very interesting model, because most of the city buildings are in a perimeter of 2 kilometers. So just to start with this project of collective self-consumption, we have had about 8 buildings in the perimeter of the collective self-consumption. All the buildings are currently being owned and managed by the city, and hence the complexity of the project is quite low. Some of the potential roadblocks is that the importance of a competent consultant who will help us in studying and who will carry out the complex calculation is very important, because if the calculations are not rightly being done, then the economic benefits of the project would not be high enough so that the citizens can benefit from, citizens of the social housing residents or the tenants can benefit from the project. There are also important financial tools available for such projects from the regional authorities. At least in France, there's a high possibility of aid or financial subsidy from the regional authorities, and also sometimes in case there's aid from the European and the national government. Also, the public distribution network has been quite collaborative and helpful in this aspect. If a project like that of a social housing or a collective self-consumption perimeter, which includes a number of owners, then the project is submitted to, the project has to have a model entity or a PMO, which is subjected to further taxes. Hence, the taxes and the invoicing of these taxes may become a little bit of a problem for, and may become administratively a little bit too much for some of the cities or some of the social housing organizations. So that's something which has to be worked upon by the state, by the European Union. There's also been additional work for the conventional energy producers. So the conventional energy producers have to take into account the energy invoicing and the part of the self-consumption and the part of the energy which they are consuming from their network. So it becomes a little bit of a headache for them. And there are times when they have refused even to submit offers. The solutions beginning with a small group of buildings or just a small social housing complex with maybe a low number of inhabitants, which would reduce the risk and help to learn for the future projects. The choice of a competent consultant with ample experience and eagerness to learn and reinvent themselves. Motivating the conventional energy suppliers for the experimentation. As I'm sure they will get to know that it's kind of the future. At least in France, we have already seen a great deal of uptake of these collective social self-consumption method, even for social housing and other cities. So the conventional energy suppliers have now to adapt themselves. There's another way is getting a partnership for experimentation with the distribution companies, which already try to help you in sending the data and just reducing the workload. The advantages we have had for the time being is 100% self-consumption since the inception of all the 3 pilot sites. So as to say that we have not been injecting any excess of the electricity, so that so as to say that all the 8 buildings are consuming all the production, which has also permitted to innovate and experiment ourselves. The consultants who worked on this project have also gained experiences from this project and have already worked upon, I think, 4 to 5 other similar projects. So we have already helped in the uptake of this model, and and we are also realizing the economy on the monthly invoices, and we have also seen that the renewable energy is being consumed locally. So thank you everyone for your attention. These are my coordinates, and for the next presentation we have Maru Saridaki from Campus C. So thank you.
Thank you, Arpan. Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me well. Yes. Good afternoon. So I would like to invite you to a little journey that we also took with the CVPP project, the Community-Based Virtual Power Plant. project. I work as a project manager for CAMSI, who is also a project partner in the Solarize project. We are in the happy position of being in the boundary between top-down and bottom-up. We are very close to municipalities. We work very closely to them in advising them for sustainability, circularity, energy, renovation, etc. But we are also taking part in many European projects, and that gives us insight into the innovations that are taking place, and we are able to inspire and affect a little bit the smaller municipalities or initiatives that are in existence in the province. What I would like to show you are the animation of the community virtual power plant project. So I will just share my screen again. Yeah.
Maro is not showing.
Oh, you're joking. All right, so we've checked it several times and it was. All right. Yeah. My apologies.
Shall I give it a try, Maro?
No, it's okay. Great. Yeah. One moment, please.
Imagine you could generate and manage your own renewable energy.
Yes, it's okay.
Yes, you could hear it. Oh, my apologies. Yeah.
Imagine you could generate and manage your own renewable energy. And what if you could do this together with people all over the country? Discover the virtual power plant. By the community and for the community. Along with others, you generate renewable energy. Thanks to smart technologies, that energy is consumed, stored and sold locally. As a group of actively involved citizens, you are in charge. Together, you determine your working method and you keep control of your energy. You can share it with your neighbours or sell it on the energy market. The result? Renewable energy is generated and used as much as possible within your community. Carbon emissions are reduced and you help keep the electricity grid in balance. The community-based virtual power plant is a game changer. It speeds up the energy transition to a sustainable and just future. We have successfully tested this in Belgium, Ireland and the Netherlands. Would you like to know more? All information can be found in the Starter's Guide, so you can get started right away. Take control of your energy future and start your own community-based virtual power plant.
All right, that worked out at the end. So what I would like to, why is it actually that we are here busy in this project? We would like to put the obvious problem that we are facing, a challenge actually, is that the energy system and the market, as you all know, is in transition, and we are moving very fast from passive consumers to a more prosumer-oriented and towards actually smart prosumer-orientated communities. But the issue that is important not to forget is that it's better when we're doing things collectively. So we're stronger together. So this could be within an energy community and energy cooperation. But the extensive version of this could be a community-based virtual power plant. This is not to say that the CVPP is a holy grail, but it has the potential to offer solutions. So we see the CVPP as a portfolio of renewable energy sources, which could be solar panels on top of an apartment building. Could include controllable appliances, such as home appliances, and will eventually in the future involve energy storage systems. All these will be aggregated and coordinated by an ICT-based control architecture. And the idea is that this portfolio is adopted by a network of people which are either place-based or interest-based. And the interest in it is that they perform a collective role and design this architecture through a series of based on the community values that they have established in advance, and they can make steps to take part in the energy market if they so choose to. We often see that the grid operators tell us that we are in a crisis. It's not yet upon us, but we see that the electrification is happening faster and faster. But what we often need to ask ourselves is what's in it for us? Is what is happening actually our choice, and what can we actually do? How can we take part in it? We see that Europe is actually also driving this. We've heard from the previous speakers about the renewable energy communities, the citizens' energy communities that are supported and by the European Union, and lots of calls are aiming on empowering citizens and including the quadruple helix, the citizen as a very important link in the chain. So when we're talking about a CVPP, we cannot keep away the fact that without the community, the virtual power plant is just another commercial project. And we see that the importance of supporting and upscaling energy communities needs the support of the municipalities. They will take an important role in generating the interest within the community. They can facilitate, but they will also together be able to exponentially increase the amount of renewable energy that is necessary to support the goals that Europe and the rest of the world are setting. We have in our project a very interesting partner in Lunen, who is actually a small, relatively small village in the Netherlands, which started a collaboration with the village council. Some very driven villagers with a technical background, of course, started this renovation and renewable energy wave in their community. They have, in the past few years, become an energy cooperation and are working together to establish a working community where the different businesses that take place that are busy in the village, but also the inhabitants are all together setting solar and sharing energy, optimizing their individual and their common energy profiles through the supply and demand, and through the software and the hardware actually that they have installed as well, for them, so that they can actually take the dynamic prices that are of interest to them, and to make the locally generated energy available to all. These objectives that they are settled through a very long process of collaboration between each other, and they are optimizing them as they go along within their community in Lunen, and with having goals such as lowering their energy bills and achieving self-sufficiency and reducing, of course, carbon emissions. They therefore envisage of becoming ESCOs, becoming an aggregator, or in the future perhaps even supplier. In the province of Antwerp, we were very happy to support 3 aspiring CVP communities in the province, and they were very kind to go into a journey with us, where we collaborated, co-created with them and other replicating communities in the Netherlands and Ireland, and formulated a process called the MORE model, the mobilization replication model, in order for them to make a story for themselves about how they envisage their future as an energy initiative, and to make specific choices of activities and values, and make a timeline of their future. Here you can see representatives from Kliman, from Zuidrand, and from the co-housing Humar in Mechelen. This is therefore one of the possibilities. So you can already be a community, an existing community, which has as a value to play, to share with each other, share energy, share space. But for this particular community, it was also important to engage with the fellow citizens in Mechelen, and this is part of their driving force in their designing of their timeline. The representatives from Kliman collaborated very closely and inspired the municipality of Bonheide to upscale as much as possible the placement of solar panels in public buildings, but at the same time also with a very clear vision about the value of the ecological value of such an effect, and therefore the inspiration of the citizens themselves. In the energy community of Stalingstad, which is actually an existing project that started a few years back, the neighborhood came together to organize itself around a renovation, but soon discovered that it was impossible to have solar panels in all houses, and they needed to find a fair energy transition for them, not just for themselves and the fellow citizens. And they were very have very closely worked with energy cooperative Zuidrand, who has become a very exciting player in the few energy corporations at the moment in Flanders. What these have in common are the very important involvement the community plays in deciding the needs, clarifying the needs and the motivations of the community, in order to make no regret decisions for the future. The community logic, therefore, is central, and the initiative needs to come for the community. The risks need to come for the community. The ownership needs to come for the community, and the decision making, of course, as well. These are some interesting characteristics, the necessary characteristics for a community. Very welcome to have a look at this in the presentation later. Luc van Sommeren, the doctorate student that has been a very instrumental part of this project, has very clearly portrayed what these needs and motivations show: the ownership, the control, the distribution, the involvement, etc. The value creation, therefore.
Maro, may I ask you to speed up a bit, because we're behind with the timing already.
All right. Okay. I will go a bit faster. So yes, basically the social value creation. The three values here: the social, the ecological, economic. We heard a lot of the economic side. Ecological, we assume exists, but the social value creation is very important. And we organized created the starters guides in order to give a tool for energy initiatives to take this journey using steps for crash courses, and to see what actually means to take part in this. The interactive backcasting method is a co-creation. It is a vision of a desired future, not only for SFPP, but for assessing what steps are needed. And it is a proven method to explore the future possibilities for a social innovation such as the CVPP, but it triggers and it mobilizes the enthusiasm. And the backcasting is a structured approach, which means that you build a conceptualized vision of the future, and you help yourself achieve the decisions of today that will influence future opportunities. And as a community, you zoom in on those issues, and the storytelling is and the out-of-the-box thinking is actually very, as we saw with these three communities, we saw that the process has brought them to new ideas, and they're very happy about this. So here, very shortly, I'm going to show you the meetings that take place. All these are in the guide that I have shared as well. So you are very welcome to delve deeper into it. The importance of the story is engaging the community and making sure that the first steps take place to build a stakeholder overview, to building your network and making first decisions. Zoutrant was facilitator. Actually, I'm very happy to say that they have won in the Klimaatfonds a couple of projects in the city of Antwerp, and they are busy now with their following steps of this timeline, which includes the technological, community, and activity decisions. As I do not have much time, I'm going to ask you to visit our website to have a closer look at the starter guide. You will need a process moderator to do this. We we believe that the future is bright for energy communities. There is so much going on. So we would kindly like you to take part in calls that take the involvement of citizens very seriously in the energy transition. And we will also be collaborating with the city of the municipality of Zuursel in this step, a partner in the Solarize project. Get in touch with us. I hope you have had a small taste of the backcasting, and I do look forward to hearing from you. Bye. I'll give back the word to Mark Vermeeren.
Thank you, Maro. Sorry for our suggestion to go faster, but I hope that most people have already some clues about what you're proposing and find a way to your website. I've taken down some key takeaways from the program. Anyway, thanks for all the speakers to share their ideas and insights. So from Antwerp, I learned that they try to build citizen energy communities and try to find solutions to find enough revenue so that to the community so that more people can be engaged. Sanne from Energiesprong had some interesting things, and well, in general, the concept of taking the energy bill and convert it into an energy plan for energy reservation as a business case for houses rented by housing corporations. It's a very new idea, I think. Well, not in Holland, because they already are working in that way for a couple of years, but for other countries, it's still quite new. And we see also that a whole new ecosystem with an industrial approach to building renovation is being set up there. So a lot of economies of scale. From Kirsten from UK, she showed us a couple of ways how common PV energy.
But you're not in presentation mode yet.
Okay now?
Great.
Yeah. So Kirsten showed us a couple of ways how common PV on a multi-tenant building can be divided or brought to the different tenants. And she also mentioned how a group purchase action can be very successful, as she mentioned by the numbers she provided. Arpan learned us about how the concept of collective self-consumption can be an enabler to bring more renewables into a small area. And Maro has introduced us into the community-based VPP as an enabler for community building and providing additional value in energy communities. So what we have next, so recordings and slides will be shared. Tomorrow you will receive an email from Jurg with a link to first fill in a small questionnaire, only 5 questions, just 1 minute. The reason why we do that is because we have KPIs for the Solarize project to measure the impact of the Solarize project on the distribution of more renewables. So you could help us in reaching that KPI if you fill in that small questionnaire, and afterward you have access to the presentations and recordings of this session. Then save the dates, although we don't have a specific date yet. So today we were working about the residential multi-tenant buildings. In October, November, there will be part 2 of this webinar, focusing on non-residential public buildings like schools, swimming pools, other community buildings from cities. So you're very welcome to attend that second webinar. All the people who attended this one will be invited for that extra webinar. So you have something to look at for the end of the year. Thank you for all your people's attention, and if you have questions or suggestions, please let us know. And in the meantime, we see that a lot of questions have already appeared in the chat. It's still open, so you can still add some additional questions or suggestions, and they will be answered or in the chat or via email afterwards. Thank you, and see you next time.